A little delicate.
All right. You found the right series, resistors. Let it go with that.
Okay. We are live. Welcome to the World of Retro Computing Expo 2023. My guests today are Bill Hurd, Dave Haynie, and a little bit later, Jerry Ellsworth is going to be popping in. So give a warm welcome to Bill and Dave. All right, guys. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Bill, this is your second time with Retro Computing. Dave, this is your first time with us. But
Yep.
You are a well-known name, so maybe in your own words, can you introduce yourself and I don't know where you're coming from?
Okay. Bill hired me to work at Commodore in 1983. I joined the TED project, which eventually put out the +4 and the C16. There are a few others that are collector's items, I suppose.
They have other names.
Yeah, they had other names. Some of them actually didn't have crappy software put inside that we had no control over. And I worked on, after that, the Commodore 128. Actually, I was on the LCD project for about a week, and then Bill wanted me on the 128. From there, after Bill left the company, Frank Palea and I, who was the other C128 hardware animal, made two different C256s, but Commodore wasn't interested, so I went on to work on Amiga stuff. I worked on the A500 for about a month, and then they actually wanted George Robbins to work, who was the main A500 hardware systems guy, to work on the Amiga 2000, but George didn't want to give up the 500 because that was his baby, so I got put on the 2000. As barely a intermediate level engineer, but I learned fast. And from there, Amiga 2500, Amiga 3000, Amiga 4000 a little bit. So I actually did all the early work on all of the Pandora systems, which later went on to be called AA, which later went on to be called AGA. I did a bunch of other projects that have never seen the light of day, like AAA and a multi-processing project called Gemini. And I did the 1491 SCSI controller that somebody else built for us. And I also did some software. I think a few people probably used DiskSelf and Set CPU in the early days. Commodore eventually took over that CPU, but and that's what I did at Commodore. After that, it was I worked at Scala for a little while. I had a whole string of startup companies. There was one called Amiga Technologies, you might have heard of, for a little while. We had a company that sort of followed that up that was called Pios Computer, but we tried really hard to make Amiga computers with that one, and the licensing at that point well, it actually hasn't got a whole lot better, has it? But it was really bad then. Nobody knew who owned anything, and so that project failed. The company basically turned into a set-top box company where we kind of recreated the Amiga OS for the living room. That didn't end well either. And then I worked on a robotics project, and that company's morphed into several different things. They're called Connectify today, and they do software. I left that. I'm now working in a company called Ragent. We do embedded. We do radios. We basically put networks in places that networks aren't supposed to work, like outdoor harsh environments, the North Sea. We did it for the NFL, that kind of thing. So I designed computers that go inside boxes that do communications these days.
Cool.
They actually have, that's a real company. They actually give me a paycheck every month, which is kind of nice.
You'll notice, Dave, when he says what he did at Commodore, he did like 8 or 9 computers. It's just, then we did that one and that one over there, and the strawberry colored one over there.
Well, it was a whole series of computers. And also at Commodore, I got the idea that Commodore just wasn't going to spend a whole lot of money on making a new high-end computer every year because they didn't sell well enough. So I wanted to build something that was a good platform that we could keep building. We could keep enhancing the same computer base as a basis. So we had we had Amiga 2500, Amiga 2500 HD, 2520, 2530, whatever, 2500/20, 2500/30, whatever. We had a bunch of options because that was just the nature of the way Commodore worked. They weren't going to support, and it turned out that was a pretty good idea. In fact, after I did it for 10 years, IBM put out a nice research paper on how you should build a personal computer with the same idea, but it never caught on. I built a PowerPC computer that way when I was in Germany, but nobody else did.
Bill, can you tell us, when did you first meet Dave? You guys crossed paths, I would imagine, right?
Oh, yeah, we crossed paths. What, a good 10 minutes before he interviewed me. Yeah. he comes bopping into this headhunter place like at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And he sits down in the lobby in a homemade shirt, and he's just got all this energy and stuff. And I'm sitting there like with a magazine upside down. He doesn't know who I am. And I'm just like, so why are you looking for a job? And he tells me in very clear and honest, his life story as of that moment. And so when they go to bring him into to interview with me, the look on his face was priceless. And I'm just like, we met. So he doesn't know it, but he probably has the job by this point already. But at one point I asked him if he could do a Laplace transform. And he grabs a pencil and starts to do one. And I grabbed the pencil out of his hand. And I'm like, I didn't mean right now. But that was it. He was hired at that point because I couldn't do a Laplace transform. So Dave is my GPU. He's my math processor. So
I also knew S transforms at that point. But
I knew what they did. I could wave at them like I knew in imaginary numbers. Yeah.
I knew the college stuff. Bill taught me how to debug.
Yeah, that's
like,
a little different.
Kind of from the ground up, because that's the stuff you don't learn in college.
Right.
So we've got all kinds of computers here. We're not strictly Commodore. So Dave, I wanted to ask you, other than a Commodore computers, what have you enjoyed maybe when you were younger and whatever? We've got Cocos here. We've got.
Well, when I was younger, there weren't that many computers, but I had an X-City Sorcerer. So actually, the first home computer I ever typed on was a Commodore PET. My best friend in high school bought a Commodore PET in 1977.
Yeah, so we got lots of Commodore PETs here. One. Bill, what was a non-Commodore computer that you enjoyed?
Oh, well, as Dave said, there wasn't computers. And then I was troubleshooting 6502 based instrumentation, and that's a computer sort of. But then when I got pulled into engineering, I worked on a Rockwell System 65 with a Lear-Sigler ADM 5A terminal. And I still, whenever I see that terminal, I'll stop and touch it in inappropriate ways.
I guess I should mention too that when I was in high school, before Scott bought his PET 2001, my dad used to bring home a TI Silent 700 printing terminal every weekend, and I got to use his department at Bell Labs had a Control Data Cyber 72 or something like that, and I got to use that over the weekend because back in those days nobody worked on the weekend. So I remember writing one program where it actually wasn't a bug. I was just using way too much computing power, so it kicked me off in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, sir, we've got a 12-year-old kid using up the Bell computing system.
They had so many computers at that place. They actually had the air condition in the wintertime.
Right? Yeah.
We had a guest at our show last year and the year before where he was responsible for bringing some mainframes into a building, out of a building, the mainframes go in, the building's built around it, but he was responsible for getting them out, and they took the windows out. I got a I don't know, front end loaner, put it up to the building, brought it out, and oh, come on, Bill, what are you doing to us? All right, I guess I'll tell the story. So Bill is part of a Discord server that Mindflare Retro runs, and there's a lot of talk about possums. I don't know why, but it's not a possum server; it's a computer server. But one of the guys made that shirt, and Bill proudly wears it. I don't know. Dave, I like your plain black one better.
Yeah, I've come straight from a Peter Gabriel concert in Philly.
Okay, like seriously, or were you joking?
Yeah. No, I went last night.
Did. Yeah.
I went last night, and then I got in my car, drove to my house in Delaware, and then got in my truck and started driving to my sister's place in Florida.
Well, I appreciate you making time to come and see us. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If this hangs together, I might try to get back on the road, but we'll see. Well, I wanted to get a little stability here first.
I appreciate that you're not driving, Dave, as an old EMT.
That's it. That's your real background. That's not a fake background.
You're there. It's about 92 degrees in this car, by the way. The air conditioner doesn't work.
And that's as windblown as I've seen him in 45 years.
Yeah, I drive with the air conditioner on. I usually keep it at about 68.
Right.
So Bill, you were on the Commodore 128. Dave, you were with the Amiga computers or Amiga side of things. So was there competition, like friendly competition or non-friendly competition? Well,
no, not really, because as I pointed out, Commodore Westchester had not been doing any Amiga work while we were doing the 128 work. That came first. And in fact, the 128 came out in August of 85, and the Amiga 1000 actually debuted in July of 85, but it didn't start shipping until September of 85. And it was a couple of years. It was actually Bob Welland and George Robbins started working on the Amiga 500 architecture, basically starting with chips and what they wanted in the chips to make it something that Commodore could actually make money on and maybe sell more of. And the people out in Los Gatos, where Amiga was headquartered, basically didn't believe in the project. So they were kind of like, you guys do what you want. It's not going to work. Then that turned out to be the one we were selling $1.5 million a year for a little while, at least. Because and also that was the basis for the architecture that went forward in every machine except the Amiga 1000 and the very, very first version of the Amiga 2000. So
to answer your question a little bit, the competition, absolutely. When Dave and I first got there in the Jack Trammell era,
oh yeah,
there was competition. It was survival of the strongest, of survival of common sense. You know, it was in there were different groups, but we learned to respect each other's priorities. And honestly, that meant that consumer took priority over business during my era there. And if you didn't find yourself in either one of those groups, it meant you were one of the group lists that we just tended to try and keep you out of our way, you know, as we're zipping up and down the hallways.
And you got, you know, and your name was at the top of the list anytime there was a layoff.
Yeah.
Unless
we like them. They're like telomeres on the end of your DNA.
Exactly, exactly.
Thread, the core of us was still there, you know.
So, Bill, what did you? So when you finished with the 128, what did you go and do? Like personally, what did you?
Oh, I made the mistake. I went to work for a machine vision company that wasn't serious about actually producing product. They were, however, serious about getting money from VC, and I kept screwing that up by spending it making product. So we did not get along. I was addicted to making product at that time. So, but I also, Dave will attest, it's a little bit stressful at Commodore, and it's a little bit addicting, the stress. So I
Yes.
ended up working at a trauma center and doing EMS. I rose to the rank of like captain of the rescue squad and stuff. So that was my second life after Commodore, was going out, you got any stress, man, anything at all. So that was kind of where I went for about 10 years.
Right, and if I know, and I can say so, you're decorated, Bill. Is
From
that-
what?
Decorated. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, Dave, what arcade game have you played last?
Arcade games. It's been a while. I played in the actual arcade. I like Tempest. That'll date me.
Met the guy that wrote Tempest, Dave. I forget which one he was, but I told him I hated him.
Yeah. When I was building a home arcade, I actually looked around to find a Tempest spinner, and then I found out that everyone who was hooking up a Tempest spinner was using a mouse chip, which does all their sampling and software, and it's always possible to spin it too fast, so you
Right.
undersample, and so I actually built my own game controller that used hardware counters, and the software only had to count every 256 pulse, or it basically got an interrupt once every 256 counts, so
How
it worked
old were you?
perfectly. Oh no, this was it before this was before I started working for the Germans. I had that working, but I never finished the cabinet because all of a sudden I'm doing startups like crazy, and okay, I guess my life's not mine anymore.
So I found a sample 1350 mouse before the Headley mouse.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that? It was in my box of goodies that.
No. This was after Commodore. It was actually Mike Sins actually turned me on to that. He had converted his Xbox to a MAME console,
Okay.
and my son was over at one of his parties, and they were playing all these old arcade games from like when we were kids, and or close to anyway. The first ones that were out there, and they were having a blast. I'm like, you mean you don't need a new arcade machine every year?
So, Dave, you can't use the sun as a backdrop. Something about a lot of photons. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that I just figured like, well, since I'm sitting here, I can go outside.
That's good. I like it. It's a godlike view.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I need to find a palm. I need to find a palm tree.
Yeah.
There's some. They're way over on the other side of the Goodwill lot, though.
Go ahead, Herc.
So we're going to while we're waiting for Jerry to come on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my my floor camera walking around to just we'll go around to some of the vendors that we have, and you can point out if you recognize something, or so I'm just going to figure out how I can add my floor cam.
So how was Gabriel, Haynie?
Oh man, probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen.
My third favorite concert was Gabriel's Secret World.
And the last song he played was Salisbury Hill.
Salisbury Hill, jeez. I'd go just for that. How much were the tickets?
They were insanely expensive.
That's why I didn't go.
Yes, yeah. Well, my sister bought them, and she's like, well, if I get the expensive ones, will you pay me back? And I'm thinking, 100, 150. Nah, like twice that.
Right. Oh, they were 600 when I.
Oh, she bought them from a broker, which is never a good idea. I think they were 350. The ones I think that it was like 300 plus a service charge or whatever. So
all right.
Yeah, it was insanely expensive, and it was still sold out.
Okay, so we got our floor cam walking around. This is where we've got our LAN party set up, and this has been a huge hit with the younger crowd. Even though it's the older computers, they just absolutely love it.
You can expand that image to take up the whole screen then. The floor cam. Click solo.
I go floor cam solo.
Oh, cool.
Right. There we are. Okay. So, all right, there's
Okay.
Rob and Ben. They're taking care of our land setup. Now we're walking in. We've got that was Jeff Schaap was he's running the I Adore My 64 film. So we've got his preview running, and we got some really neat stuff where we're using Commodore 64s, but we've got new boards, new lights. They're nice and flashy stuff. We're not just all about the old vintage stuff. We don't mind putting new technology in as well.
Cool. Oh, look, color, lights, the Commodore experience. What's that little thing next to the left of it that was not the Commodore experience? What is that?
This one here is
Zenith. I'll tell you a Zenith story offline.
Okay. All right. All right, floor cam, you can move around a bit.
All right.
Yeah, I'll put it back here. Okay?
What is this Zenith?
This is the Zenith Minisport. It's a bit of a rare bird. It's one of these Zenith XT compatible laptops. The unique thing about this is these crazy floppies that Zenith has. Only a few of the systems have. These are 2.5-inch floppies.
Are they MOs?
Kilobytes. Basically impossible to find.
Those look like those old photo floppies that failed.
Sorry, couldn't hear what he said.
Can you say that again, please?
Oh, I said they look like those old. There was Sony made I think it was Toshiba. Somebody made a photo floppy that was 2.5-inch, and they failed miserably. Nobody wanted to use it. Custom made. That when everyone was trying to figure out how to make, what are we going to put the digital photos on for our digigital cameras? Because flash memory was too expensive. Actually, flash memory hadn't really been invented yet.
Yeah.
So some people were building little SRAM cards with batteries you could put in them, and then Sony came. Then Sony decided they weren't actually digital cameras yet; they were just electronic. Sony said, "Let's just use a regular, damn, everyday, ordinary floppy," and that's the first one that caught on.
Very cool.
Yeah, well, these failed miserably too. But if you happen to have one of these laptops, you're crawling the internet trying to find these things. So,
I'm not sure it's the same, but it looks very similar. Maybe somebody found another use for them. Hey, I bet the music people will buy these.
Okay, yeah. So we're moving along. That is a garbage can.
Okay.
So we got some raffles over on the right. We don't have to show everything, Nick, but you just scan around. So there's Nick, the floor cam. That's his setup.
What would you say the Apple to Commodore ratio is on this floor? Not being judgy, just curious.
No, it's fine. I would say we're probably half Commodore.
Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer. Yeah.
I don't feel like I've been lied to, and yet it's not, just an Apple house.
So what we're looking at right now, that is what we tried to do is recreate an advertisement where where none of the wires are plugged in, like
That's cool. That's cool.
That's what we tried to do there. So moving along, we've got.
We're walking.
Yeah, oh, there's us. All right.
Okay.
So this is a pirate video station.
Okay.
Broadcasting everything UHF. So it's running off a Raspberry Pi, and anyone that tunes in to his channel can see that. So it's a closed system, but
Okay.
that's kind of that's fun. That's
It's
really
not.
fun.
It's not a real pirate system if there's no ROM.
The NSA is still aware of it, so it counts.
The NSA in Canada?
Oh yeah, that's their backyard. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
they got more antenna per square mile than
I guess so. Yeah.
And we've got the Chimera OS. So it'll run emulation on various systems. Floor cam, can you please turn to Josh, Cookie Cutter Josh? There we go, Cookie Cutter Josh. So he's been a vendor at our event for a few years now, and those are actual cookies to the left, and then cookie cutters, which he makes himself. He comes to the show, so yeah, there's cookie cutter. He's got there's a boing ball. There's a boing ball there.
Now that's a cookie.
Yeah, he's. There's the cookies.
very little carcinogens were used in the cutting of this cookie.
All right, floor cam. There we go.
It's safer than a trip to Jersey for the weekend.
So we've got little. All right, so here we're coming up to.
Can you believe I'm from Jersey, Haynie, after all these years?
Can you believe I'm not from Jersey anymore?
This is wrong.
So check out what we got here. Floor cam, stay on that for a minute. So we've got a real-time display on a pet. So that is us right now.
Wow.
Directly into a pet.
Wow.
So it's kind of neat because it shows you what you possibly
That is neat. Yeah.
Not what could have been done because the technology wasn't there, but what we're doing now with older technology, bringing in the new stuff, and I think that was really awesome. I enjoy that.
Bill, you learned about Jersey karma. The more you joke about Jersey, the more you are destined to have to live there.
You're destined to end up working in a trauma center there in the Turnpike at 2 a.m. Yeah. So now we could have done this pet project back in the day, Dave, except we didn't have cell phones or the infrastructure, or even could work at those frequencies required. But other than that,
there were a few missing pieces.
Yeah.
All right, floor cam, move along to the next. So this is all a vendor named Jason. He brought this all. He's got all kinds of Commodore stuff. Actually, Jason was the one who has the computer, the 128 that Bill was working on specifically, that has the Bill stickers on the inside.
Oh, okay. Right. So yeah, Dave, what they did is they opened one up last year, and there's like our handwriting on the EEPROMs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a little bit collectible, I guess.
Oh,
it's unique.
It made me like, because I recognized my handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Okay, floor cam. We got we got CD32 just off to the right. We got some games going on there. So one thing that I enjoy about this show is that everything's hands-on. People come in.
Hey, mute Dave's mic for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, go. You were saying.
Something that's really neat with our show is that we let everyone play on the devices that we bring. We're not a don't touch show, which I don't know. I enjoy that. Everyone else enjoys that. You can get in there. We've wrecked. There's a C64 that died. One of Jason's, his Super Pet overheated last night, but this morning it was fine. Turned it on. It's running. So the pod that we're going into here, I believe this is the Atari 16-bit room. So he's got a bunch of he's got BBSs. So he's Atari BBSs set up with an Atari ST running the. I think he's running the BBSs on the ST that's actually at the show.
Wow.
I'm gonna bring All right, Dave, I got your mic back on.
Okay, it should be a little quieter now. I had
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
the phone was right by a fan.
No. That's fine.
That fan is now
Well,
off.
Dave, you've got your fans. Ba-dum bump.
Yeah. Nicely done, sir.
Beautiful plumage.
We've got. So this is okay.
Well,
Floor cam,
Dave,
hang on.
never far
hang on there
away.
for a second. Floor cam,
What?
wait. Floor cam, wait there. At Kawari, to the right. There we go. Okay, so
We should teach floor cam sign language.
well, I can see this. The venue is very unique, so there's lots of pods. So I'm in an area where he can't. He may not be able to really hear me that well, or he's got a 5-second delay.
Oh, you've got the most excellent floor cam I've seen at any site. And I'm being very serious. A lot of sites don't have this good a bandwidth to cover their floors like this.
Yeah, well, that's thanks to Skywatch for that. All right, that is. I think we're at the Kawari VIC-2 chip producer. That's right? That's right. Okay, so that's the VIC-2. The VIC-2. Cars driving by you sound like feedback here, Dave.
Oh.
Anyhow, so the Kawari.
They sound like Atari Jaguars going by. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Floor Cam. Excellent. So VIC-2 Kawari is a replacement for the Commodore 64 VIC chip. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention. We're not just we're not just doing vintage stuff. And the whole community, we got new boards coming in. And Bill, I mean, you know that. Dave, I'm sure you do. But there's a gigantic community building new products for Commodore systems, Atari systems.
Oh yeah.
Apple systems.
So right, they're spending money to make hardware act as if it's 1/1000th the speed that we can actually do. Right. Got it.
Exactly. You got to slow the stuff down.
Yeah.
All right, Floor Cam, can you go over to Minimig now, please? All right, so this is Ranko's setup, and he produces Minimig boards. That's his newest revision, which is an ITX compatible board to run Amiga systems. His boards can also accept original accelerators, so he can mix and match. So his new board.
Oh really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's not Doom, is it?
Looks like Doom. Is it Doom or the
Doom or Quake?
Wolfenstein?
Hey, there's
Quake.
Ranko, Minimig, how's it going?
How's it going?
Sorry, it's a little bit noisy here.
Yeah. All right, Floor Cam, move along. I don't mean that rude. I just he's got to hear me.
Well, you could make it like an adventure game. You could be like 3 paces left. What do you see?
Yeah.
You're in a maze of twisty passages.
This is a not-for-profit.
You're in a maze of twisty prototypes.
Yeah.
These guys are called the Working Center, and they take old computer donations and refurbish them, throw Linux on them, and get them to less fortunate people that need technology.
Cool. Very cool.
And so they're not just recycling, or they're not just throwing out the old stuff. If something, they got to break down computers, they're selling. Those are 386, 46 chips. So everything's recycled here. So I want to introduce our. This is a Retro Rewind, and they are the ones who brought free admission to our event. So I'd like to thank them. That's retrorewind.ca.
Okay.
Cool.
So they produce the diagnostic harnesses for 64 systems. So they have the full harness that, like the keyboard, not
Right.
just cartridge, but the harness that goes to the keyboard and to the cartridge port.
Our C64 test was finally tuned. Our C64 test in production was finely tuned to ignore certain kinds of errors so that we could hit our shipping quotas.
So here's a question I wanted to ask you. Floor cam, stay on Retro Rewind for a second. I heard from someone that was in the event at the event yesterday that the diagnostic or the idea behind the diagnostics was actually produced by Commodore. It's not necessarily new technology. Is that right? Or,
I'm not sure what the question is. You're asking about diagnostics in general?
So did you at Commodore have a diagnostic device that
we did what you guys are doing, quite honestly. We used like a Commodore to run a Commodore in the production line.
Okay, all right.
Or a PET or something. Yeah, those things didn't really exist like we're used to thinking of today for end of line production testing, things like that. So they literally would sit there and plug in all the ports you're doing, and they would run a quick CIA test on a monitor. You know, basically a self-test as much as anything.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to say it?
Here you go, Bill. This one's for you.
I think you said, Bill, that's for you. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a plastic case with the handle.
Yes, it
That
is.
That is the PAL machine that requires a huge transformer to power.
So, Dave, did you know that they did the C128Ds plastic? They did dump them in Europe.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they had sold some of them. Yeah.
So there's 30 of them from our batch, and then there's some PALs out there. They're all plastic.
Yeah,
very cool.
That was the good one with the clip-in keyboard and the handle. Yep.
Hey, somebody just forwarded me my old one that I gave to Kim's brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was mine that they gave you. They gave you one too, and because Fish just showed his. Yeah, so I gave mine to Kimmy's brother, and we found it, and it's back in my possession thanks to Santa.
Yeah,
so
I gave mine to my sister Kathy, but I don't know what she was using it for a while, and then she stopped. And I think she eventually sold it.
Right.
Probably on eBay for lots of money.
But there are some people that have them, so you may have one of Dave's sister's things out there.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop the floor cam. So floor cam, you're good. Thank you very, very much for.
Thank you, floor cam.
Thank you, floor cam.
So I have.
Oh, is floor cam gone? We can talk about him now.
Yeah, that floor cam guy. I'll tell you.
So I sent a message right now to Jerry just to say that we're ready for her. I didn't see her coming, but I also know that she was quite busy this weekend, and she mentioned that she had
hugely busy this weekend. Yes,
something to do in Taiwan, and she said if she couldn't come on, it's because she couldn't get service from Taiwan, something like that. So she was definitely, she might still show up. I apologize if she doesn't, but just logistically wise, she let us know that there might be some issues there.
Right.
Yeah.
We keep chatting for a bit and see if she comes on.
Yeah, it's not like they wouldn't have internet in Taiwan or anything. It's not like calling from a car somewhere in the middle of Florida.
Right. Oh, they did something from like a cruise one time. They took their ham rigs on the cruise.
Oh,
you're
cruise.
Sort of not supposed to do that.
No, a cruise is really difficult too because they almost always use satellite internet, which is wicked slow because they use the geosynchronous stuff. Or at least they used to. So you have the 750 or more millisecond latency.
Right. See, so this is a challenge for you there, Herc, to mention anything technical that we won't just spout about.
That's fine. That's fine for me.
There aren't any topics like that. We know. We will.
Oh, hey, Dave, I got something to show you. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, so Bill's just going to get something he wants to show Dave.
Okay.
So, wait for him to come back. Maybe he's going to change out of that Lem shirt.
No, he's not. Or is he? I don't know. No,
What's
he's
that?
got something. He thought you would change into a different shirt, but what? I can't. What is it?
I thought about changing shirts, but
Okay.
All right, what do you got, Bill?
hang on. Let me see if I can open it.
Yeah, I'm mostly looking at the road, but
You look at the road. I'll describe it.
yeah, I can glance down, but it's only a postage stamp size picture anyway on my phone.
Right. Hang on.
So we're also, if you guys are okay, we'll take a couple of questions from the audience.
Oh,
I-
absolutely.
I initially expected to be doing this in the air-conditioned comfort of my heat shed at my house on a 34-inch monitor, but
So,
sometimes,
Dave?
yeah.
can you see that?
Oh, keyboard.
What
Which
keyboard is it?
Oh, is that the dumb one? That I forget the name of it, but yeah.
But this is a particular one from CES. Remember, they got a guy from Juilliard to play a 128.
Oh, right, okay.
This is from that CES. I forget the guy's name. He rode around with us the rest of the night. We kept pulling him in as the sixth guy in the cab, you know.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
so
question.
You ready for some questions? I know,
Sure.
Yeah. So, all right, questions. Just grab it and talk close into it, I guess. What would it be a Gemini?
We can't hear.
Get right in there. Actually, you know what? Just come over here. I'll give you the seat, and then ask you. And then they can hear you as well.
Dave, you're talking about the Gemini system, multi-CPU. What would it
Yes.
if it had actually kind of like come to fruition?
Well, that was going to be something where each one acted sort of like a networked Amiga.
So very
really-
loosely coupled then.
They could share memory, they could interrupt each other, but just for speed purposes, they each had their own 4 megabytes of RAM and their own math chip. So it was mostly going to work like a loosely coupled system, but it was really for Randall to figure out what we wanted to do with multiprocessing in Amiga OS, because we didn't know.
We didn't have phrases like multi-threaded back then.
Oh, we had multi-threaded. The whole Amiga OS. Oh, Amiga OS is heavily multi-threaded, but we didn't have multiprocessing within the operating system. So they were going to each have their own version of exec running, and some other utilities, other libraries. So it was going to work like work like a loosely coupled system, not a symmetric multiprocessing system.
Got it. There, you heard it from the expert.
Yeah, we didn't have the bandwidth to do tightly coupled.
Right. The arbitration would have been a lot of pins.
Well, the thing is that the 68,030s didn't have, they had this tiny little on-chip cache. It wasn't enough to really accelerate anything. Yeah.
So you know what? If you guys don't mind, I'm bringing floor cam back on because we got a couple of interesting. So here we got.
Yeah, so I've got the Clear Video 64 with the VIC-20 font and the 664 font, and we can switch between them. You see the 8x8 character set actually shows up on the 1702 unrefurbished monitor.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the 4x8 and that's the 8x8. You can actually see the pixels of the 8x8 font. I've never opened that screen before.
So
I've
ask us where the font came from.
I can't hear him.
Say again, please.
Ask him to ask us where the font came from.
Oh, I had to piece it together from the VIC and the original 64 font. So I actually made a font based on the PET and VIC-20.
Okay, we stole some of the font from Atari.
Oh, is that what happened? We stole from
Atari? Yes, we call it the Atari font.
The Atari font, yeah. That's
with the weird descenders.
Yep.
So that's Jay from Jaystonian's Retro Shop,
Oh, cool.
and
Yep.
he's selling that video upgrade for the Commodore 64.
Cool.
So now we've got another reason why I've got an awesome floor cam guy is he reminded me that we have something really neat that Dave maybe knows about or okay, so floor cam, can you head into the prototype room?
Okay.
Yep. No, we have time for that. Try to find something that works.
Question about the sound.
Oh, don't put the Dr. Pepper there.
It's got the new Tube 64.
Floor cam, can you go to the prototype room, please? All right. So what I was told is that we have a prototype Amiga.
What do we have here?
What is it?
Prototype Amiga 3500.
Prototype Amiga 3500.
3500 and 3000T were different casework and somewhat different builds, but they were basically the same computer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
who
that
did
was
it, Dave?
what that was mostly Greg Berlin and Scott. It was mostly Greg Berlin. I helped out with the audio Wiser card.
Right.
Because Greg was trying to do some digital shut off of audio or something like that. And they said, you don't have to shut it off digitally. You just have to put a transistor in there. And it's if it's a 30 dB attenuator, it's off.
Right.
And so, because basically they wanted there was an internal speaker, there were external jacks, and there was a headphone jack. They wanted the internal speaker to shut off when you plugged in the headphone jack or something like that. I think that was the purpose.
Got it.
But it wasn't, it was the same, it was ordinary Polo audio. There's nothing special about it.
Right. Floor cam, thank her for us. Tell us that her computer was done by Greg Berlin and Dave Haynie.
Yeah, the 3000T was 3500 and 3000T. They could never figure out what they wanted to call anything.
Right.
When it got to like the upgraded versions of the basic, but by the time there was a high-end model, I was probably called on to do something like with the chip guys, especially from like 1990 on. I was, I did the first AA prototype, I did the first AAA prototype, and then it was like, okay, once that's working, we'll build something real with it. It was supposed to be the Amiga 3000 Plus, but then we got a change in management, and they basically didn't want anything that Jeff Porter had been responsible for.
Oh, wow.
They had PC guys in there. Also, PC guys didn't like SCSI. They didn't understand why SCSI was important. Multitasking, multi-threading guys, but they didn't understand why we needed DMA-driven disk I/O. When all the PC industry at the time was doing programmed I/O.
So, to our audience there, what you just heard was the inside actual criticism and thinking of the processes that went into making Amigas. This is like the highest level of, and you just heard it. They even the politics of, we don't like Porter anymore. Let's can his product.
And if you'd like to hear more of this, I'll be at the show in Germany in October.
We've got. All right, so we got a couple more to run through here. Okay, yeah, stay there. So that Atari 2600, that was mine from when I was a kid.
Wow.
Brought that in for people just to pick up and play because nowadays you bring in a PS5 or something or some other system, you boot it up, it's going to take all show to do its updates. That put the cartridge in and off you go.
Oh, it's raining again.
What do we got there? Floor cam?
We got a emulator for the IMSI 8080 and an Eagle, which has made the most piercing sound when it boots up. and then a Dynalogic Hyperion.
That looked like Lee Felstein behind there. Lee, is that you?
No, it's just Nick Puerto. You don't know me. Hi.
It's floor cam.
Well, tell him I said he looks like Lee Felstein of Osborne fame.
And over here we've got Amiga ON. So they're a Facebook group who it's just a community of Amiga lovers. Amiga ON on Facebook. If you want to join that group, it's a really nice, friendly group.
I'm hoping Dave didn't just roll his car here.
No, I'm still here. I was just trying an experiment.
All right.
Get a better video.
Hey, I'm watching the trees look sideways through the windows.
I wanted to ask you. This was something I wanted to ask you as well. So the Boeing balls.
Yes.
I've got. I have mine, and then Amiga ON has theirs. Mine's a little bit older. Theirs look a little bit newer. So what's the history of the Boeing balls? Were they a trade show?
It was just a demo. It was a demo that I think it was RJ and Dale, and I'm not sure, maybe Dave Needle were trying. Yeah, they were just putting together. It was one of those original demos, and they wanted to show off the stereo sound, and so they had. And they were doing the rotation using color cycling, and also it was really smooth. And it was something you couldn't do on any other computer at the time, outside of like an SGI or something. And then they were bashing a trash can in Dale's or RJ's garage. I knew this at one point to get this for the sound when it hits, and and using various detection. So the thing's running around, and it's got it has collision detection to tell when it's hitting a wall or something like that. So it just became this demo. But it was one of those things where everyone looks at this and like, wow, like Robo City and some of the others, you can't do that on a PC or at the time you couldn't do it on a Commodore 64 or 128. Later you could with the REU. Yeah. But that was frame by frame animation, which is also how some of the PCs did it early on. Once they had a VGA chip that was fast enough to do frame by frame animation, which they didn't at the beginning.
So, do you remember where the balls themselves were they from, like an '86 CES, or do you remember where they came from?
Richard, I don't know there's been balls for years. I got a fuzzy one like in the '90s or maybe the 2000s even. But I don't know where the first ones came out. I know that originally, because Commodore Engineering, was usually running things until the marketing people caught on to maybe they needed to do some marketing. The original logo was going to be the Boeing ball. So the pricing balls made up. In fact, that's why if you've ever been to a show with me or one of the other guys handing out these little Boeing ball stickers that perfectly match them of 1,000 or possibly 2,000 or maybe your floppy drive or your monitor, those were all printed up. They made thousands of those, and then they changed the checkmark logo.
Right.
And so that all of the aluminum logo plate with keyboard office, and eventually in I have a box in my office.
You're breaking up,
it has
Dave.
a plastic bag probably.
Yeah, you're breaking up now.
I'm just gonna mute Dave for a second there.
Yep.
So what?
Let's see if I go to another tower.
Ben, you want full cam on yours? Ben.
Show me Ben's.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna. I think Dave is back on. Let's see here. Okay, all right, Dave.
Yeah.
The mic back on. So here, another thing that I like about this show is that we got some young talent. So Ben is he really enjoys Commodore stuff. Ben, can you run that printer for us? Have you got it on? So this has been something that has fascinated the young kids. Top to top, Ben. So when the younger kids come in, they're that's absolutely fascinating for them to see the insides of a printer. Right now, you don't see a printer. You see your graphic on the computer. You print it out. The paper comes out. You don't see what it's doing. But this was fascinating to the younger crowd. And it's, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it is making a racket in here.
That's very cool. Ask him where he got it.
Ben.
I just got it from somebody here actually.
Oh, okay.
He lives here. It's in the local computer club, the Computer Heritage Group.
Okay.
All right,
cool.
Thanks very much, Ben. All right, so Floor Cam, thank you again, and thank you for coming to me, telling me that I missed a few of the vendors and exhibitors. Looks like
Dave, you say.
Oh, I'm still here again. Somewhere. Yeah, I rolled over again.
There we
are. Just trying another solution here.
Whoa, that's how I did roll over.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dave, I recommend you hang tires from the car, much like tugboats do.
Yeah, like boats.
I'll leave Floor Cam walking around a little bit, and we can kind of wrap it up here. I don't think we're gonna get Jerry, but that's okay. I had a fun time.
Yeah, no, we had fun.
You and Dave. I appreciate you guys coming on very much.
Well, I feel sorry for Floor Cam. He seems to live a life of slavery. Yeah, so hopefully Floor Cam makes a break for the door later when nobody's looking. Gets free. No, thank you very much. This was very cool.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, keep the faith. If you have an applet, that's okay. Commodores are better.
Awesome. Thanks very much, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Take care. Thank
All right,
you.
Bill. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Dave.